Have you ever noticed that some people occupy your mind far more than they've ever occupied your life? You check your phone constantly. You replay conversations. You wonder whether you said the wrong thing. You spend hours thinking about what they're thinking. They give us mixed signals. They take hours or days to reply. They leave us wondering where we stand. Meanwhile, someone else comes along. They make us feel secure. They text back, show up consistently, are emotionally available, and make it clear they want to be with us. Yet, they may barely cross your mind as they don't create the strongest emotional pull. Why? Why do we become so emotionally invested in people who seem the least able to invest in us? Why do some of us become fascinated by the people who make us repeatedly question ourselves? I think it is one of the strangest contradictions in human relationships, and I want to explore 4 psychological reasons to understand why even thoughtful, self-aware people can find themselves repeating the same relationship patterns. We assume that we learn about love when we begin dating. However, we begin learning much earlier. When we are children, we don't learn about love from advice. We learn it from experience in thousands of tiny moments. Who comforted us, who showed up, or who disappeared physically or emotionally, who made us feel loved, visible, and cared for, and who didn't. Those everyday experiences become our first lessons about closeness. Psychologists John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth spent decades studying these early relationships. Their research suggested something profound. The early relationships we experience become the templates for many of the relationships that follow. They shape our expectations emotionally and show how different patterns of caregiving teach us what closeness feels like. They also teach us that what is familiar often feels right, even if it isn't good for us. From childhood, we begin to develop an idea of what love feels like, and those expectations can follow us into adulthood. Here's where things become interesting. Imagine growing up in an environment where affection was inconsistent. You never knew what edition of someone you were coming home to. Some days there was warmth, other days there was distance. At times you felt deeply valued. Other times you were never quite sure where you stood. Today they are attentive and affectionate. Tomorrow they seem miles away. Years later you meet someone who creates the same emotional rhythm. They are difficult to read. At times they seem deeply interested, but then they disappear. Sometimes they make you feel incredibly special. Then they pull away. They don't deliberately remind you of your childhood, but the emotional rhythm does. It is a familiar pattern that can be mistaken for healthy relational love. We may think that's chemistry, but perhaps it isn't. What starts to happen is that uncertainty begins to feel normal. We may be drawn in by the excitement, the uncertainty, or perhaps familiarity. Our minds naturally trust what they already know, even when what we know isn't particularly healthy. That's why familiarity can feel surprisingly comfortable, even when it repeatedly causes pain. However, feeling familiar isn't the same as feeling safe, and that's an important difference. Here's something I wish more people understood. Emotionally unavailable people don't just leave you wanting more, they leave you without an ending. Think about the last person you struggled to let go of. How much of your time was spent trying to understand them? Replaying conversations, analyzing messages, wondering what changed, imagining what you should have said differently. When they don't respond to your messages, your brain starts filling in the gaps. Why haven't they replied? Did I say something wrong? Then you start making excuses for them. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're scared. Maybe next week will be different. Before long, you're no longer building a relationship. You're building unrealistic explanations. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik observed that our minds struggle to let go of unfinished experiences. She found that people remember unfinished tasks more easily than completed ones. Today, this is known as the Zeigarnik Effect. The same pattern can emerge in relationships. When someone leaves us with uncertainty instead of clarity, our minds keep trying to complete the story. We may already know they weren't the right person. Yet, a part of us keeps searching for an ending that never comes, and emotionally unavailable people rarely provide one. Instead, they leave behind unanswered questions. And unanswered questions keep our minds returning to the relationship, hoping that one more conversation, one more message, or one more chance will finally bring the closure we never received. And so, the cycle continues. Then comes the moment that keeps so many people trapped. Imagine this. Someone hasn't replied to your messages for days. Then, without warning, your phone lights up. "Hey, I've been thinking about you." Suddenly, everything changes. Your chest feels lighter. Your shoulders relax. The anxiety begins to fade. Hope returns. One message, one phone call, one wonderful weekend together. It feels as though everything is finally back on track. But pause for a moment. What were you really feeling? Was it love, or was it relief? Psychologist B.F. Skinner observed that rewards delivered unpredictably can become surprisingly powerful. We never know when they will arrive. We keep hoping the next moment of warmth is just around the corner. The same pattern can emerge in relationships. Our minds aren't responding only to the person. They're responding to the unpredictability. After days of uncertainty, even the smallest sign of affection can feel overwhelming. The relationship has suddenly become secure, even for a brief moment. The uncertainty has stopped, until the silence returns, and the cycle begins again. When we step back, a pattern begins to emerge. Our earliest relationships shape what love feels like. We become drawn to what feels familiar, even when it hurts us. We keep searching for endings to stories that never truly finished. And we mistake the relief of uncertainty for the feeling of being genuinely loved. None of this means you're destined to repeat these patterns forever. Patterns can be recognized. And what can be recognized can begin to change. Maybe our questions can become different. Instead of asking, "Why don't they love me?" we begin to ask, "Why does this kind of love feel so familiar?" The goal isn't simply to find someone who makes your heart race, it's to recognize the difference between emotional uncertainty and emotional intimacy. One keeps you waiting, the other makes us feel secure. They can feel surprisingly similar at first, but they are not the same. And learning the difference may be one of the most important relationship lessons we ever learn. If this conversation resonated with you, I hope you'll join me for the next one, where we'll explore why healthy love can feel unfamiliar at first and why peace is so often mistaken for the absence of passion.